Hello everyone and welcome. It's the final round of the iRacing Le Mans Series live from Road Atlanta. My name is Marco Barbanera. Sam Fitzpatrick will hopefully join me very soon as we get ready for this final 1 hour race of the season. Welcome on board. And as we are in the final moments of qualifying, we are getting ready for the starting grid. The 36 drivers have showed up for this race and divided into the three classes: 7 LMP1s, 8 LMP2s, and 21 GTEs. A little bit of a different field than usual due to the fact that some of the drivers are at the Sim Racing Expo, but nevertheless it's going to be even more interesting of a race. Let's go through your starting grid then, with the pole position set by Nathan Hammes on 1 minute 03.705, Matt Farrow in second place and Antoine Cousin in third. Fourth place for Ruslan Baramakulov, and then fifth is David Onathol, Tom Mitchell-Moore in P6 and Enar Marinsky in P7. Then for the LMP2 class, we have Moises Carvalho in pole position, Alex Traynor in second, and Jeremiah Morton, Arkadiusz Neumann, Adam State. Behind him is Richard Hogenberg, Edward Luck of IndyCar fame, and Neil Middleton will round up the LMP2 field. The GTEs, Distran Correa on pole, in front of Denis Grabowski, Sergio Ignacio, Tyler Ervayas, Sasha Engelhardt, Linus Technow, Bradley Haley. Then we have a driver with no name, Carlos Fenoyosa, apparently. Dominic Push in 24th place overall, Aymeric Blom, Maxime Duval, Dennis Neidart, Kim Salvesen, Norbert Leitner, Frank Schlothman, Daniel R. Dinsdale, Tom Pottage, Corentin Kulu, Richard Onslow, Jérôme Yanni, Dominic Siku in P36, and he will round up your grid, as I'm having positive news from Sam Fitzpatrick, who is almost in, as the cars are rolling for the pace lap.
Yes, I am now in, terrifically, so apologies for that slight interruption at the start of this, but you got a bit more of Marco, so, you know, you're not going to exactly complain, are you? But no, it's terrific to be here at this Road Atlanta circuit for the final round of the season. We've certainly loved covering every week of this championship on Apex Racing TV since week 2 of the championship. I believe that first round was at Monza, if I recall correctly, and yeah, that's been a terrific racing ever since then. Thanks for tuning in. And of course, if any drivers are watching this back, thanks for, you know, turning up, because you definitely put on the spectacle, and we certainly appreciate your company. And this should be a fun hour-long race, a circuit that everyone enjoys. Lots of drivers signed up for this race, and we should be in for some very close, tight action in each of the classes.
Absolutely, as in the... Well, no, for once, luckily we have a full pace lap, and so you had plenty of time to join us, and, you know, as a great professional like you are, you were able to get in. So it has been a season that sadly I haven't followed very closely because I was not on duty, but it seems like it was exciting as per usual. I'm seeing Porsches more than Audis in the LMP1 class, and a nice spread of cars in the GTE field, with 3/4 leading the GT field, with Correa, Grabowski, and Ignacio 1, 2, and 3. And then 3 BMWs, a Porsche. The first Ferrari is in 10th place.
Yeah, we've seen barely any Fords up to this point in the season, so terrific to see them out in numbers. Potentially those drivers preparing for Petit Le Mans. Maybe that Ford goes decently around this place. I'm not quite sure. Certainly hope so. And maybe we'll see them next season a little bit more as well. But Nathan, a mess. Someone that we haven't really seen too much. He's put it on pole position. Can he hang on to it? The car number 22 pulls away from the start, and we are away for 1 hour of racing here at the Road Atlanta circuit. And it's a good start for Amas. No chance for Farah to make the move early on. And of course, once you get into that first sweep, that left, right section, it's ever so difficult to make the move. In the HPD, seems like Caraballo still having a good run, and Corolla still just starting the GTEs, and he's got off to a good start as well.
Yes, Sam, one thing we will certainly notice in this race will be lapping. That will be very, very tough, as we have Blom having already a moment going there in the grass of the first corner. Hopefully a clean rejoin. Lapping is extremely difficult around here, and the track is narrow and it's very short, so the problem will be certainly felt later in the race, as Mitchell Moore jumps up to 4th place, almost to 3rd place. Gets a jump on Baramkulov, but not on Kuzan.
Yeah, just has to stay behind there. But it's top two straight away pulling away in the LMP1. So so close for Farrow. Also, who's, yeah, of course, in the lead now is Matt Farrow. So taking the lead in that Audi, which also usually has a very quick pit stop as well. Always do say this, but about 5 seconds faster in the pits is the Audi normally. And that could be a little bit of, yeah, interference later on in the race. So I'm not sure Farrow doesn't need it. Straight into the lead out of the LMP1 field. Caraballo, of course, beating Trainer at the moment. I'm going to check what the scores in the HBD field is, because as always, it's been a mega quite close championship, and I think it's come down to Trainer or Morton. Morton had a terrific start to the season, but it's really been Alex Trainer who's been dominating the class ever since then. And it's now those two, I think, going head-to-head for the title. These could be crucial points to see who's going to be the season 2 champion, apologies, of this series.
Absolutely, as we are seeing still very close at the front between the 3 Fords. Matt Farrow now trying to pull away, and a very close fight here in the LMP2s with Caravaggio and Trainor leading the way in front of Jeremiah Morton. Let's jump on board with Trainor to see his driving style here with the HPD, of course. The oldest car of the bunch, a mistake from Trainor. Is Morton there to capitalize? As Sergio Ignacio is having issues. He's around at the final chicane, and from 3rd place in his class down to P16.
He was even up to 2nd place in his class.
And he's not the only one.
Oh dear.
Oh,
Wow.
We have a flip for Bradley Haley, I would imagine. Okay, a lot of things happened. So let's see what happened to Bradley Haley, because I think he was trying to avoid the spinning BMW, got clipped, then he hit the wall, flipped, and then I think got another helping hand here when he was upside down. No, oh, nice driving by a lot of the drivers there. And let's see what happened to Sergio Ignacio then.
This was in pursuit of the race leader.
Oh, contact there with the 3rd place car, and around he goes. Okay, so feisty start of the race in the GTE class. Well, all around, I'd say, because there have been many overtakes, and look at that. Matt Farrow is already on the rear end of the GTE field, and now the fun begins, so to speak, for us, certainly. For these drivers, a little bit less.
Just reminds me of a fantastic prequels quote there. Got all excited about the AV1 series. I'll hold off that excitement for now. But ever so close up there in the HPDs as well. Caraballo, not out of slipstream range, but the slipstream isn't too effective in this HPD car. And you can see he's trying to break at this ever so long back straight we have at Road Atlanta. And I was speaking to Tyler Maxson, a fellow commentator of us, and I think he said how the fastest he's ever gone in real life, because he drives MX-5s in real life, it is at the bottom of that dip, just because you got that elevation change does give you the extra bits of speed. I think around places like Road America, maybe you go a little bit faster, but I think he's quite visited there yet, but no, some pretty intense speeds they get up around these circuits.
Yes, Sam, and the MX-5, both in iRacing and in real life, massive slipstream as we have Marinsky going wide. I would guess issues with lapping a GT car. In real life and in the sim, the MX-5 has a very big hole punched in the air, and when you are following the slipstream effect is massive. And I can really believe Tyler when he says that, because this straight is very long and it goes down the hill, so you can hit very high speeds when you come to the chicane.
Certainly these drivers will be benefiting from that. Maybe the LMP ones not quite so much. They'll be desperate to get past as soon as possible. The slipstream effect they will not be taking too much as LMP ones getting past. Of course, once you get stuck in this part of the circuit, you can't got one overtaking spot in the entirety of the S's section. If you don't get it done there, and that is a very risky move. I'm sure anyone who's ever driven Petit Le Mans, particularly in the GT cars, know that those dastardly DPs constantly put it down your inside midway through the S's and take you out of the race. I'm usually in that DP car, seeing that it is the best car in the game. I don't think too many people agree with me on that, but Marco, have you ever driven the DP before? I mean, I love it.
Well, I finished sixth in the second split in the 2018 the Daytona 24, with basically half. Sorry, no, with three of the drivers being now World Championship drivers for Apex. So I did only one stint where I almost crashed the car, but still we managed to finish sixth, and some of those drivers, especially Michele Costantini, says that the DP is his favorite car, so you are in very good company. By the way, Mitchell Moore closing in on Faro. I wanted to ask you if I think this race, the Petit Le Mans, is still missing from your collection of enduros, no?
It is actually. I'm a bit, and unfortunately I didn't do Watkins Glen earlier on, as Micklemore has a bit of an off. But no, I won Daytona and Sebring earlier on in the season. They are the only two endurance races or special events I've ever won or done well at. So I'm not any good. I'll put that out there. But no, unfortunately I'm at uni as well for Petit Le Mans, so I won't be able to add that. That'll be a nice little collection to have for the IMSA Enduro events.
I'm thinking about my next round of enduro being Daytona once again, because my partner is my endurance partner is not home in this time of the year, so he will be back after Petit Le Mans. So I have to wait for Daytona and other drivers, but we will have to defend our crown at Sebring, of course, next year.
Yes. Sixth split, hopefully. David Onazol, catching up to Ina Marinsky.
Yeah, Marinsky making a lot of mistakes in this opening stanza of the race. And so being put under pressure by Onazol behind him. And I think now trying to use all of the extra energy of his car, the boost, to pull away. And like you were saying earlier, slipstream effect not so big in this LMP1, so you see tough for Onazol to stay in line. And also another driver who made a couple of mistakes, Barankulov, is trying to catch back, as in the HPDs Moises Caravaggio has got 1 second over Alex Traynor. Now the traffic, of course, playing a big part. Jeremiah Morton is there as well. In the GTs, Nistoran Correa is happily in the lead in front of Grabowski, who is put under big pressure by Tyler Ervayas, of course. Not the same driver that races in the Apex Racing League Series, right? That is, I think, Austin Ervayas.
Yes, it is. I was very confused there.
Alex Traynor, we just talked about him, and now he's 3-point maneuvering out of the S's.
Yes, troubles for Traynor. And this is how it happened. Looks as though it's going to be with some... Oh, no, it's completely by himself.
No.
Oh, sorry, was it not? Apologies, maybe...
There's a
glitched out on
missing
my
car
screen.
in your replay, I think.
Yes.
Which
He
is...
was the last driver I could view. And,
okay.
yeah, just getting attacked rounds then.
Yeah, he
I
got
assume
clipped
by
by a
an invisible
GT, yes.
car.
Michelmore, after his mistake, trying to close once again the gap on Matt Farrow, two of the household names of this series, usually always at the top of the timing table, and no different tonight. Michelmore is getting really close now. They will have more lap traffic to deal with, so let's stay on board with Michelmore and see how they both approach this lapping phase.
Yeah, Michelmore not too desperate to get the move down into the chicane. You could see he wasn't, or you could hear at least, he wasn't deploying much more energy. Now he does deploy a bit of energy just to get the move done before the final corner. And he has a little bit of a gap, but this is going to be ever so difficult. He's got a lot of cars in front of him. He's going to catch them probably at just the worst point, I think. The HPDs aren't slow around this part of the circuit, but when they're being held up by GTEs, really isn't very convenient. 2x2 picks up a cone, and Michelmore cannot make any moves, and you can see how he's losing seconds here.
Sorry, but here everything is sounding off. The trash can, the trash, you know, the vehicle that takes the trash cans and empties them down an alarm, and also, you know, sadly these are not very loud cars, these LMP1s, due to everything. Otherwise they would have covered all the noise. So hopefully we can go on without any more interruptions. But yes, you are right, Michelmore not able to make the move, and basically, unless you take huge gambles, for the first part of the lap is almost impossible to make the move on slower cars.
Yes, that's the challenge of... Oh! Into the wall! It's Kulo.
Trying to see... Yeah, it's him, very slowly. That's it from the chopper. I think there was quite a bit of lag contact between the two of them. Yes.
Oh, massive, yeah.
Massive hit. Massive lag contact, massive hit to the wall. Say hello to a legend. Oh man, he's now moving. That car is undrivable, sadly. Say hello to a legend of MX5 competition, especially in North America, in the North American scene, Bobby Childs, also now trying his hands with the V8 supercars on Saturday nights here on Apex Racing TV. Glad to have you on board.
And thanks to the other 26 people I am currently seeing, who are watching.
Seeing 34. You have
34, awesome. Gosh.
You know, it's like in iRacing. You know, there's a limit on how many spectators you can register. I'm kidding, of course. There will be one day where you will have a much better computer than mine, and you will be a much better broadcaster than me, because I know you have the talent, my young Padawan.
Oh, thank you very much.
You know you know my nickname in Flight Simulator, in the Flight Simulator online scene, was Captain Kenobi, you know? So I have all the rights to call you young Padawan.
Yes. I always, whenever we do this broadcast, I'm always saying, let's be iRacing Esports Network in terms of the amount of viewers, and we are currently doing that. I think they've only just launched, but don't go over to them. Stick with us. This is a much better series, not the production card challenge. Stick with the iRacing Le Mans series, because this is good fun racing at the moment. And I mean, we can criticise iRacing on this, whereas we can't whenever on the iRacing
Oh dear,
Network.
dear me, what a big crash there. There was one of the LMP1s, as we have 3 wide for 11th in GTE.
Oh, Baron Kulov, it was.
I think he was. Let's watch these 3 wides get solved, and then we will go straight to the replay as they sort themselves out there. And here we go. Yeah, you are right, it was the orange LMP1 car. What happened to him? Oh, there was the Ferrari there. Oh, that's bad luck. And basically a one-car half spin ends up involving and ruining the race of 3 cars. Such is the, you know, the price to pay when you race in multi-class environment in such a small racetrack.
Yeah, mega unlucky for those drivers. I mean, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of them for the rest of the race. Of course, no faster pair for these guys. And yeah, I'm not sure who the fry was involved as well. But yeah, really unfortunate for a couple of drivers. Bankrylov, of course, back into the pits. I think may have been a push, maybe just getting a little bit of contact in all of that. Engelhardt battling with Benolosa. Apologies. 3/10 of a second between the two of them. They are a long way behind Ty Hervase up the road, 8 seconds up the road. Bankrylov still in the pits, by the way, so it really looks like his day in the LMP1 field is over and done with. I was also just looking at the series stats with all the points. It's very close, by the way, in the LMP1 championship. Looks like Matt Farah's going to win out because neither Marcus Hampton nor Patrick Wolff are around today. So it looks like Farah's going to win that championship. In the HPDs, though, it is mega close. I remember this doesn't take into account the week that they will most likely drop after this one. Trainer, 1,425. Morton, 1,411. I mean, that is close. And so whoever wins out of those two in this race, seeing that I believe this is the highest strength of field we get in the HPD class all week long, may well end up being the champion. So it's very important. Calvin Fordont is also in amongst those drivers, but he is not around today, so he won't be able to challenge. In the GTs, by the way, Florian Diener looks like he's going to win. So Sacho Engelhardt, who is out on the field, is in 3rd place. So he might get a few places in the championship, but that looks pretty much wrapped up in the GT field. But no, very important in the P2 field, how many points Traynor and Morton score.
Edward Luck running behind Traynor here in the S's. And using that piece of tarmac or runoff area there will be very important later in the race. There is not a single race in iRacing history on this track where someone hasn't crashed there. So that will happen sooner.
I mean, no races that you've
later.
been in. No races that you've been in, Marco, because that's your favourite crashing spot, obviously.
That is my favorite crashing spot of all the racetrack.
I mean, final corners, tough as well. Not so much in these cars necessarily, but certainly GT3s ever so difficult
Sam,
to get round flat.
The final corner, once you know the trick of these 3 of the yellow, red and white stripes on the bridge, once you know the trick of positioning your car behind those, below those 3 stripes when you go under the bridge, that gets, I wouldn't say easy, but doable. Whilst,
okay, I've never heard of that before.
Oh, see, there's something I can teach you, finally. Those are there in real life also, and I guess they are there to show where the car should be positioned. At least that's how I read it on the racing forums many years ago.
I mean, I wish there was that for pretty much every single corner. I guess you have the driving line sometimes, but not in this series. I believe you can have that in rookie series and maybe D-class series, but not at this elite level. While the B-class series, of course, this pretty much as high up as it gets. Fenolosa still battling away then with Engelhardt. Did Engelhardt get
finally
ahead?
his name on the overlay.
Have we not been getting it right so far?
No, it was only just F. No,
okay, right.
Because his name is spelled weirdly on the iRacing software, and that was not very well liked by by the live timing, but now, in all his splendor, his name. And he's very close to Engelhardt, so it's also a driver to follow and see how he can go. By the way, there at the front, just quickly, 2 seconds between Farrow and Mitchelmore. Of course, Mitchelmore needs to make the move quickly, and this is not going to be easy for him because, of course, like you were saying, this 5-6 seconds advantage for the Audi in the pit stop, it's going to be certainly a problem for Mitchelmore. He needs to make the pass, try to run away, but as of this moment, Farrow has been absolutely faultless in traffic and has not gotten any single moment where he has slowed down. He's been always quick, very good, and let's see if he can continue.
Yeah, Farrow always just seems to be driving at kind of 60%. I don't know how hard he is pushing up there. Unfortunately, we don't usually have a chat with Matt, but I mean, if he's listening to this back, certainly do have a chat with us next season. As long as we broadcast this, we ought to, or any future series that he does. Because it would be fascinating to hear. But yeah, I mean, Matt sometimes has close races at the moment. Always just seems to have that extra 10% though, when it really matters, just to pull out that race victory. And looks as though it's going to be his day today as well. But credit to Mickelmore, he's really putting up a very good effort. Just got to say, Carlos is certainly my favourite driver now. That he is driving the Ford. Great to see it back out on track. I don't think we've ridden on board with a Ford GTE car for several weeks. It's very much fallen out of fashion, but listen to it and see the cockpit. Such a good car. But down the straights, he needs a little bit more power because he's not really getting anywhere near the driver ahead. He's closing a little bit down the straight. It was 4.5 tenths of a second at the start of the straight, and it's coming down to 3 tenths of a second right now. So maybe 2 tenths of a second gain across that entire straight. But I mean, he needs a little bit more than that if he's going to get close enough to go for a move with the very good braking capabilities of these cars.
Yes, I mean, there is no need to hype the Ford, my favorite brand, and good to have 2 of them in the first 2 places. It was Schlottmann with issues. Frank Schlottmann in the Ferrari has lost a couple of places, and maybe Izud. Yes, he did, I think. Let's see what happened. Here the chicane. He was already missing Izud. This is just an off he had, but certainly earlier he went into the wall. Did he? Oh yeah, he did. Unfortunately, the first victim of the dreaded left-hander.
Yes, and these GT cars deal with the curbs decently. That's one of the big challenges of this track. Always remember the Audi, at least the Audi GT3 car, that is. At least on the base setup, it handles the curbs horrendously. But no, these GTE cars, as long as you set them up decently, usually cope quite well. Engelhardt really under pressure now, so getting a bit closer to a move is Penalosa. Still Correa dominating in this category. He's 3 seconds ahead of Grabowski, apologies, and Ty Hervés in 3rd place. But they're all a little bit spread out, and then got another 10 seconds back to these couple of drivers. Feels as though, Marco, even if Penalosa made this move, I don't think he'd lose too much time to Engelhardt. I don't think he'd pull away from Engelhardt. I think Engelhardt could probably stay quite close. These two seem very evenly matched.
I think you are right. Let's see how we. You were right in saying he can stay close, but the Ford is missing that extra punch on the straight. Maybe now could be. No, it's a bit too far away unless he goes for the big lunge, which I don't think is happening. So Fenoliosa stays there. Tom Mitchelmore 1:04.6, fastest lap of the race. He's trying to give himself a chance as Matt Farrow is lapping and hitting slightly that Ford there. This could be a good chance for Mitchell. More let's jump on board with him, keeping always an eye on that fight in GT.
Yeah, that's 1.2 seconds now between the top two. I had to put a little bit of extra energy just to relieve that pressure at the start of that back straight. But Micklemore is looking very good at the moment, not making many mistakes himself. Surprisingly, he was down in 5th place on the grid. Not quite sure what happened to his qualifying time. As 3 wide just ahead between the 3 classes now. It's an opportunity for Power to potentially pull away because Micklemore will get one of these guys. Won't get the HPD, but then at the same time, the HPDs are pretty handy around this part of the circuit. Shouldn't be too much of a disadvantage for Micklemore. He just has to back out of it. Gap starting to go up to 1.8 seconds perhaps between the top 2. And Cloud just gains a little bit, at least from that little gaggle of cars they just got past. 16 seconds back, by the way, to MS. He did start on the pole position. Feels like a while ago. But the car number 22, a long way from that now. Fenalosa. He's getting closer. I didn't mean that to rhyme. He can't get the move done into turn 1. Difficult to really outbrake your opponent there. These GTE cars produce so much downforce they can carry a lot of speed through turn 1. And pretty much the entire first half of the lap, as Marco was saying, is pretty much impossible to overtake.
I mean, unless your opponent crashes here, makes a big mistake in the S's, you have to follow the leader. By the way, I just briefly showed you the weather. And it's 7:30 in the evening, so I don't think we will get the lights on the cars, but certainly this is somewhat mimicking the, let's say, 6th or 7th hour of the race at Petit Le Mans later in the season. I mean, the headlights are always on for these cars, of course. Stupid Marco. It's the end of the season for everyone. Apologies. You know?
Well, to be fair, this is the start of your season in the ILMS. So.
Oh, yes.
I mean, yes. By the way, just been asked what's the top speed in these GTE cars. I mean, I'm watching Fenalosa right now. I think it's about 280 kilometers an hour, which is 180 miles an hour, I would have thought. So, fast. If you want to put an adjective to it. Not as fast. Well, to be fair, top end speed, I don't think the LMP ones have too much of an advantage because it's mainly their acceleration, which is quite remarkable. HPDs as well, not that fast down the straights either. These, I'm sure a Porsche Cup car could beat the majority of these cars out on circuit, to be honest, with that straight line speed. The top speed doesn't usually tell you too much about how fast the car is.
Yeah.
Because they're absolutely powering away from these points.
I mean, just to, you know, give a reference point, if you tune in with us on Sunday nights for the British GT, you see that on the straight it is usually tough for the GT3 cars to get by the Porsche Cup cars, and usually the difference is, of course, thanks to the downforce and the traction control and the ABS in the corners. All helps that the Porsche has, of course, downforce, a lot less than the GT3s, but also it has no ABS and no traction control, so that's where the drivers can really make a difference for the overtake.
Certainly watch that on Sunday. I'll be back in the booth alongside Ryan Walker with Marco on the cameras. We'll be around from Snetterton 300 circuit, which I know does divide opinion. I also know that Tyler Maxson absolutely loves Snetterton for some reason. He also loves Charlotte Roval course, so I mean, he has odd tastes.
That's a beautiful course.
Well, is it?
Yes.
I remember you telling me how the only reason it's got elevation change is because they physically couldn't dig any more of the circuit out, so they just had to build on top of it.
Well, they made a small mistake when they bought the terrain that eventually became the racetrack. They just, only after the purchase, noticed that it was a very rocky terrain, and this almost bankrupted the racetrack at Charlotte, in its first few years of existence. And this caused the fact that the infield is so undulated, especially in that right-hander that brings you to the left-hander that brings you back to the oval. As Antoine Cousin is under pressure from Marinsky, who, after his many mistakes, is trying to come back, while at the front is 1 second between the two leaders, and still these two guys here, they have been bumper to bumper for the past 20 minutes or so. But let's see Cousin defending from Marinsky then.
No way through there. And the one cars are quite wide, of course. Not as wide as the BMWs, but I imagine they really are quite large. And a good exit there for Cousin to pull away. Of course, week 13 coming up. I mean, let us know in the chat if what you're excited about. TCR car, the new Barcelona circuit, which will have night lighting as well. So positive signs that looks as though iRacing are going to implement night lighting at the majority of new circuits that they do, which does make sense. Also, TCR car is being modelled with the old and new damage model. Don't quite understand that logic. Difficult to tell which one it's going to be released for, but that will be, in a way, the new damage model and V7 tyre model. I mean, a lot to be excited about for that car. And I mean, of course, check out Apex Racing Leagues, the website for the TCR League. Check out the Apex Racing TV Facebook page for that. And if you've got any ideas for a Week 13 special event, because I kind of want to host one, let us know in the chat, and we may well put it on for your services. So anything entertaining, certainly do let us know.
And I have been told by someone, one of the higher ups at Apex Racing TV, that if you are at the expo, you can try the new TCR car.
Apparently, it's been modelled by real-life drivers that have had a lot of input, and the tyres in particular are horrendous at cold temperatures, which takes me back to a few of these cars a few years ago. Certainly remember the DP absolutely undrivable on the first lap. Kind of taking that away from the majority of the cars, but it's good to hear that that it might be back for the V7 tyre model.
Well, I can tell you that the Skip Barber is absolutely undrivable out of the pits. So
good.
By the way, Mitchell Moore, Farrow doesn't need to push in the sense that he has those 7 seconds more or less in the bag, no matter what happens. But Mitchell Moore, he's getting closer, and he will be, desperate to make the move once again, because he needs to pass Farrow and pull away to make up for that 7 seconds gap in the pits.
So way to persona down there, Bobby. Just letting us know that damage model has been taken from 6 of the 7 cars. I didn't realise it was going to be released or anything else, to be honest, but so I personally haven't lost too much. But we really do need that. Imagine that in this series. Yes, would be very good. But once it comes along, it will be good. It will be a bit groundbreaking. I don't think any simmers got anything comparable. As into the pits goes Newman. Arcadius Newman. Trainer stays out behind Neil Middleton.
So close between the two leaders.
Very defending. Mickelmore, well, this is going to be a brave move around the outside. That thinks better of it. 2 now around that part of the track. But this is going pretty feisty now, Marco.
Yeah, very feisty, and of course, these guys will all pit as late as possible. In the past couple of seasons, the LMP1s have been given a bigger tank. So if you remember, early in the history of these broadcasts, the LMP1s were pitting around the 30-minute mark, but now they are able to push it a little bit more. So they are not going in, and again, Farrow not in a rush, but I think he wants to win on the, is a win. A win is a win. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is that he wants to stay in front, you know, regardless of that 7-second gap in the pits. So, oh, look at the boost. Here comes the overtake.
Oh, but Farah responds with a bit of boost for himself. How much are they willing to use these two drivers? Farah again has enough, but is Micklemore forcing him to use a bit of extra battery power? And maybe in a couple of laps that will come back to haunt the current race leader. Middleton has been overtaken by Alex Trainer. So the driver, leader of the championship, who had an issue earlier on in the race, he has now overtaken Neil Middleton. Yet to pit those two drivers. Barry forcing out, well, I say forcing out, I don't think that's a whole lot of being for Micklemore regardless on the run down to turn 2, or run up to turn 2.
Don't you think they are risking it a bit too much?
Off for Hodgenberg off the circuit.
Very big off. His car veered to the right. Let's try to get a replay super quickly. Which is going to be a problem. No. Here we go. Don't you think the two leaders are risking a bit too much? Especially Farrow. He knows he doesn't have to defend that hard. Luckily for Hodgenberg, only a spin. And because he went the right way, he went on the right side. And earlier, you know, than the dreadful crash is later, as basically coming out of the corner, as once again using his boost. Michelmore very close, almost touching in the grass 3 wide.
Off the circuit goes Benalosa.
Yes, you got that right, Sam. These two guys are, you know, it's almost like it's a personal battle between the two of them, and no one else is on the racetrack. That was very, very tight, of course, not pointing the fingers towards anyone. But certainly, you know, that was not what Fenollosa needed. Here we go, once again, the boost, the flashing headlights, the similar top speed. They have to be super careful. Just one touch here, and they are both going for the fences, Sam. So they are really risking a lot, and to throw away a 1-2 finish. Of course, everyone wants to win, but you risk putting yourself into a bad situation and throw away some big points towards the end of the season, as Michelmore now boosting. Oh, can Micklemore get this move? Yes. In the end, quite easy for him. Forget how fast these LMP1 cars are. You know that LMP1 plus Ferrari is always a bad mix. The history of the Le Mans 24 Hours has shown us that LMP1s don't like Ferraris.
No. Because it's, well, I'm thinking back to the 2011 Audi crash.
Yeah, in 2013, I think the Peugeot or Toyota crash with the Ferrari.
Yes, and Davidson. Micklemore. Well, I mean, he's tried that move a few times. Kind of feels like, I mean, it's. I don't know that much about the LMP1 cars. I'm not saying that I'm an expert or anything, but almost feels like he needs to do something a bit different. As well, that's a bit different to the outside into turn 1. Carrying a lot more speed is Micklemore, and he is into the lead. So he just had to wait behind for long enough. Eventually, a bit of traffic helped him out, and Tom Micklemore takes the lead. Does need to build a lead though now, but he has been the fastest driver out on circuit for a while, so he's got a chance to do so.
Is it a bit too late though? We'll have to keep an eye on the clock. He needs more or less 7 seconds, and the stops are coming soon. Antoine Cousin is the first of the LMP1 to pit for to have a pit stop without damage. I mean, to have a regularly scheduled pit stop. Caravaggio takes back the lead in his class. Middleton comes out of the pits in second in front of Traynor and Neumann. Edward Lack is in 5th. Needs to run Correa leads the way in front of Tyler Vyas and Denis Grabowski in the GTE class as Michelmore jumps in immediately after his overtake. So maybe it was too late. Let's see Farrow in his in-lap, I suppose. This will be his in-lap.
Will Farrow get the move? Oh, it was close. I'm surprised he didn't actually close in a little bit faster than that. I thought he would have plenty enough. Micklemore stationary. 15.6 for Kuzan. 16.1 for Onazol. 12.6
Good
for
stop.
Tom Micklemore. I
Very
mean,
fast.
if Farrow is 6 seconds faster than that, I mean, that would be a very short pit stop.
He spent 40 seconds cone to cone, 40.7 for Michelmore. All the other LMP1s were 44 or up. So let's see Matt Farrow. Will he take the hard right to the pit lane? No, he won't. He stays out for one more. Michelmore came out in relatively small traffic. Let's bring up the track map whilst we are at it. And see that he has a couple of cars in front of him, but nothing major.
Slight bouts of second place in the HBD class. Trainer 4/10 of a second ahead of Neil Middleton after making that move a while back. Don't think there's been any changes for a while, but Middleton, personally, I'm a bit surprised he's managed to keep up. Used to drive for Fusion, did Middleton. I've probably just butchered that. Apologies, Neil. I feel like I've raced against Neil in DGFX or something like that. No grudges or anything.
You raced against 1050 Barbanera Racing in DGFX, no?
Yes. Did they win? I can't remember. No offense, Marco. I don't remember them being.
We finished on the podium at
successful.
Silverstone.
Right.
In the HPD last season. But Farrow is in.
Yes. Moment of truth. 12.6 stationary is the time to beat. Of course, he does also need to get some fuel in it. That is necessary as well. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2 seconds faster, 2.5 seconds faster. So not as fast as we thought he would be in comparison to Micklemore, but he is still ahead of him. And that was clearly a good in-lap or two, because the gap's up to 3.5 seconds. So he came into the pits 1 second behind, had a 2.5 second pit stop, and he's now 3 seconds ahead. So working out for Matt Farrow, and Tom Micklemore is going to have to do it all over again if he's going to win this race. Newman trying to get past Middleton, very close there.
Erwan Woostra comes to the rescue, saying that, by the way, Erwan Woostra, Mr. Audi, back when I was covering this series, said that Neil was racing for my opinion and therefore fact for DGFX.
Right. But that was like a collaboration with another team, I think. I need to get to the box. You know what, after this, I'm going to load up my my DGFX results, and I'll figure it all out. Interestingly, though, this is a bit of a tangent. It still relates to the season, but a driver called Chris Lullam won at Le Mans a couple of weeks ago in this series, in the GTs, and I was saying, I know who that is. I karted against him when I was like 13. So there you go. Good to see him doing well as Hodgenberg. Not doing too well, and that wasn't a particularly good rejoin either, almost collecting a couple of cars. And Hodgenberg, he was doing pretty well early on, but he's a long way detached from the rest of the
Safe to say he doesn't like this portion of the racetrack. Another interesting looking spin. Did he hit the wall? Yes, he did. And then coming back on the track, it was not as close as the cameras showed first time around, but these guys are still battling for second, third, and fourth in their class. Another fight in the GTEs, but Onslow and Hervayas has stopped and Onslow has not. So back to the LMP2 fight.
Sorry, Erwin, for doubting. I mean, you are almost certainly right. Clearly some figments of my imagination. Middleton, though, yeah, of course he's behind Newman now. After the pit stops, Caraballo still dominating in this HPD class. Trainer 18 seconds ahead. And then Newman just a little bit detached from Trainer with Middleton just on still. Then it's Edward Lack. Jeremiah Morton, do we know what happened to Morton? Because he was up in the top 3 earlier.
No, and I will get to the bottom of this very quickly.
Awesome. Because he was fighting for the championship, and I must say, if it comes down to the points they score in this race, and I mean there are drop scores and many other factors to put into this, and of course they'll do other races as well this week. But that would be enough for Alex Trainer, it seems, to win the class title. And it has been very well fought. Fantastic for those drivers to pretty much turn up for every single race. Certainly massively appreciate it. But yeah, Morton just struggling a little bit in the second half of the season. Still being a very good championship effort for him. And a lot could still happen from now to the end of the race. So it gets darker and darker here at Road Atlanta. In Georgia, this circuit is, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it is. GA. I don't know why A. I guess it's the last letter. That would make sense. But, I mean, is there a GE?
No. Not that I know.
No, I don't know. I just feel as though it should be GE instead of GA. But there you go.
Maybe this is what happened to Jeremiah Morton? No. This we saw it live, I think. So I cannot get to the bottom of what happened to him.
I don't know if we could just watch Jeremiah Morton for a second. I'll just have a check at his lap times over the course of this race. I mean, he's just been quite slow, to be honest, in the second half of the race. Earlier on, he was doing 11s, some 10s, and in the past 20 laps or so, ever since his pit stop, he's been doing, yeah, since lap 25, he's been doing 12s, 13s, 14s. So I think
might have some damage
picked
then.
up some damage, yeah, earlier on around his pit stop. Hence why he probably came into the pit so early. There you go. Feel like Sherlock. We're putting the pieces together. It seems as though Jeremiah Watson got some damage earlier on. Came into the pits to try to repair some of it, but too much, and that's why he's so far behind. Battle point between Duval and Ian Ashe.
So
I think Sergio had a bit of an issue earlier on, didn't he?
Yeah, I think so. The sun is slowly setting behind the horizon. I think this is one of the tracks that doesn't have night racing features, meaning that when the sun goes down, the racetrack becomes pitch black. The only light points are the car headlights, which are beginning to make a mark on the tarmac. I don't know if you can spot them. It's very, very small, but definitely the headlights are also bouncing off of the trees.
Surely that's got to be added in this build.
I would really hope so.
Le Mans coming up. Was it added for Le Mans?
Yes.
Yeah, well,
and
yeah,
also for the Nürburgring 24, I think.
Yeah, so surely they're going to add it for Road Atlanta in preparation for Petit Le Mans, you would think.
yes, you know, considering that we have only, you know, I think 1 or 2 hours of night time around here in the race as cones are getting killed, and Grabowski is getting closer and closer to the race lead in GTE, which is now being held by Tyler Arvayas. So after being quiet for most of the race, the BMWs with Arvayas and Engelhardt are moving up to the front. So we have this battle here. The battle at the lead of for the lead of the race is not over just yet, because Michelmore has closed the gap down to 1.2 seconds. A reminder that you can follow the live timing in the link below. And let's go there, by the way. I thought it was over after the pit stops, Sam, but apparently not.
No. I mean, Michelmore's been pretty much faster for this entire race, and yet he's still behind. Hence, just pretty much due to his starting position. Almost making some contact, and he's making his presence known as Michelmore. Here we go, deploys a bit of energy. Barry responds though with some energy for himself. He will do everything to defend. If it weren't important for him to hold on to his lead earlier on, it's very important now. Also, do we know, Mark, what happened to Correa earlier on in the race? Because he was leading that GTE field, I believe. But a long way from that now, after having a crash seemingly. Was it Correa who was leading
Yes.
there? Yes, it was, yeah.
So while you enjoy this battle, I'm trying to once again go
Sorry,
through.
Marco.
No. I mean,
I'm very demanding of everything
you know
that must go on.
In this series, no, it's important. You know, in this series, it's very hard to keep track of everything with the 3 races and thousands of events that come, you know, on the event viewer.
But yeah, Michelmore 8/10 of a second behind, so he's not as close as he was on the last lap to Barry. Because these two can afford to take a few chunks out of one another, I guess, because they have got a 40-second lead over a mess in 3rd place, which is getting a little bit held up there. Is Barry, in fact, just through the chicane, but I think Michelmore's going to receive the same treatment as they're about to start lap 48 of this race. It really shows how short a race circuit this is. They're lapping it in 65, 66 seconds at the moment. And Michelmore, well, this would be a harsh race to lose. Like I said earlier on, Barry seems to always have that extra 10%. There's no doubt he's giving it his absolute all at the moment, but if he could win this race, and these are the type of races he does usually win, it would be an incredible effort. This is what happened to Correa then. Oh wow, and he took out another driver as well of Poimarinsky.
Sorry, that was just the back end of the crash, but there must have been a misunderstanding in this part of the racetrack between Correa and another driver, because that was a very odd-looking crash. And it's like deja vu all over again for us and for Faro and Michelmore. We have seen this scene many a time tonight. At the same time, we need split screen functionality racing. Arvayas and Grabowski fighting for the lead in GT.
Or will the lead in LMP1 make any effects on this? They're trying to go 3 wide almost. Just about nipping down the inside and off the circuit there. That's going to be a change for the lead in the GTE class. And through goes Grabowski. Just pushing ever so wide there was Michelmore when getting past her base. And Grabowski makes the move, and he's up into the lead in the GTE field, despite the fact that Tyre's been leading for this entire race pretty much. As well, I'd say lead for the entire race, but being ahead of Dennis for pretty much this entire race. Also, Penalosa's had another issue out there, losing a lot of time as we speak, so I think he's currently stationary out on circuit. Seems to have got back going though, but this is the part of the circuit where he had a crash earlier on as well.
Spoiler alert. I think I know what happened. You know, having a commentator that crashes a lot can really help you in predicting the future. Bad luck there for Carlos, of course, and he was having a good race, but then it went all downstairs after that contact earlier with the leaders, and they were coming through.
So I guess this is definitely going to be the main battle we watch over. It's still quite close to Gabrowski for the race lead in the GT field, but I mean, I think this is probably more likely to change with 5 minutes to go. We'll keep an eye out on what it looks like, how many laps we're going to have to the end of this event. Nikomon deploying seemingly less energy, but for a longer amount of time. And so the gap between these two drivers actually maintains down that back straight.
And there will be no calm moment for both of these guys. There will be cars all over the place from now until the end of the race because of what we said many times, the very short racetrack, the tight and twisty nature of this racetrack. So stay with us because this fight will go down to the wire.
Michael Moore gains a little bit with the traffic, just holding up Farah ever so slightly. Now he deploys some energy, goes to the outside as Farah got to deploy some energy himself. Yes, he does. This is far from the most efficient way of driving, it's far from the fastest way of driving, but it's track position that these two care about at the moment. Once again, Farah, loads of energy on the exit of that corner, but Micklemore with some extra energy halfway down the straight. Is he almost in the limiter? He doesn't seem to have any more space to go. 3 wide with the Porsche on the inside. Does a good job at getting out of the way. But Farah has every move covered off. Still almost contact between the pair of them. Now, maybe down the inside. That would be an ambitious move for Micklemore. Gets the cutback. Now looks to the inside. There's just not enough energy for him to use. Double tap across the line. And Micklemore moves into the lead for the second time in the race. And this time, I think he's got a much better chance at hanging on to it. And the pressure in the end holds. And he just managed to outwit Matt Farah in the end, Marco. I mean, Farah, that was a good defensive drive for him to find the energy whenever he could. But I think he had just no more response in the end.
Beautiful move. Yes, there was no answer this time. They almost made contact, but very clean fighting overall. Let's see how the traffic will play, because this is not over just yet. A lot of things can happen from now until the end of the race. Point in case, here comes the Audi. Oh, what a move there. He went for the Daniel Ricciardo style, but it was a fake out, but it was a little bit too far behind to try and actually do something with it. But here we go, and they touch.
Oh, he's going to be able to get past the traffic. Off the circuit goes Micklemore, and that could be it this time. And he's now going to get held up by the traffic as well. Needs to make sure Micklemore that he doesn't get too frustrated and does anything rash. I mean, he's still got time to maybe catch up to the race leader. Oh, and off the circuit, that's a big impact for Hounslow.
Oh, Farah is in the wall, I think. He is. And he almost collects Mitchellmore. Did he hit the wall there?
Just as he takes the lead once again, Matt Farah. He's put it into the wall, seemingly runs wide. This is the corner that Michael was talking about earlier on. Boy, he skimmed the wall, but it might not be too bad. And wow,
they are still fighting.
Back onto the circuit.
They are still fighting. 0.6 of a second. This will be... I'm not sure if this is the white flag. In fact, it won't be. 2 more laps. What a way to end the season, Sam.
Absolutely. One of the GT drivers isn't best pleased with the behaviour of these two, hence why he crashed off on the last lap. Oh, that's bold. Was there contact? I thought I heard a bit of contact. They're doing everything they can to beat one another. And you know what, Micklemore, he looks as though he has the measure of maybe that bit of damage for Farah just affecting me a little bit, 0.7 of a second. This is the tightest battle out on circuit pretty much. Certainly in terms of the high up positions in each class. Apparently, the Audi has a stronger boost, but the Porsche, sorry, the Porsche has a stronger boost, but the Audi can deploy it for a longer amount of time.
That Audi has got some damage, unfortunately. So I think this is all over for Matt Farrow as the white flag drops. Sarela Blanca.
More time lost for Farrell all of a sudden. The traffic, which on the most part has been his friend today, is quickly turning to his enemy. Mickelmore might get a little bit held up at the top of the hill here, but you know what? He doesn't lose too much time. Of course, we've also got Caraballo leading the way in the HPD class. Trainer crucially getting second place at the moment, which could be enough points for him to win that specific championship. And Grabowski has been able to hold off Hervase since we saw him overtake last. So Mickelmore with 4 more corners to execute. That's all he needs to do to win this race. I mean, it's been hard fought for him. He started down in 6th place on the grid, but he's going to come through the final corner. Tom Mickelmore wins in the P1 category at Road Atlanta. Controversial, no doubt, but that was a thrilling final 10 minutes to that race. The next race winner we're going to see across the line is going to be Moses Caraballo. He's 10 seconds ahead of Axe Trainer. Trainer has been catching him for a while now, but Caraballo with enough pace easily after a spin for Trainer earlier on in the race. It's going to be impressive for him. We haven't seen him too much this season, but in week 12 he wins at Road Atlanta. Nice win for Moses there. Trainer and Newman round out the podium. And leader of the GTEs is Dennis Grabowski. You can probably just see Ty Hervase in the background. These two are the only two drivers who have started their 48th lap in the GT category. Everyone else was lapped that extra time by the P1 leaders. Grabowski a little bit sideways through that chicane, not holding off much at the end. But it's great to see a Ford back on the top step of the podium, and it's Dennis Grabowski back on the top step of the podium as well. Beats Ty Hervase, Sasha Engelhardt, rounding out the podium. So that's pretty much all the ILMS racing we've got this season. We might have a couple of interviews with the judges though, and also we're going to be able to go through the results one last time. It's Tom Mickelmore winning out 2.5 seconds ahead of Matt Farrell. There's a lot more to that story than just that time suggests. Nathan Amass, 45 seconds behind in 3rd place. Antoine Kuzan in 4th, and David Onazol in 5th place. The tires in that category were Ina Marinsky and Ruslan Baramkulov. In the HBDs, Moses Caraballo won out ahead of Alex Trainer, Arcadius Newman rounding out the podium. Then it was Neil Middleton, Edward Lack, and Jeremiah Morton, who was carrying damage for most of the race. Richard Hodgenberg and Adam State were the retirees. And in the GTEs, Dennis Grabowski won a hard-fought battle against Ty Hervase, Sasha Engelhardt rounding out the podium. Behind that was Norbert Lietner, Carlos Fenolosa, Maxime Duval, Dennis Neidhardt, Sergei Iannacho, Dominic Pusch, Frank Schlothman, Imeric Blom, Tom Pottage, Jerome Yanni, Richard Hounslow, and Linus Technow. The big retirees there were Nestorian Correa, who was leading for much of the race, Dominic Sikau, Bradley Haley, Corentine Kulo, Daniel Tinsdale, and Kim Salverson. Rounds out the 36 drivers. And at least one thing I feel that has improved this season has been my pronunciation of names. So, I mean, I'm sure many people in that list will feel probably not the case, but I used to be pretty bad, and I'm now half average, I imagine. So far, no interviews with drivers. So I usually this is the point in the broadcast, Marco, where I'd say, but next week we're heading to blah de blah. I'm not sure what the ILMS schedule is next season, but I mean, hopefully we'll be covering it. I mean, I'm certainly up for covering it next year. And I mean, if anyone's got any ideas of what day we should host, you think if there should be a different day? I mean, Fridays certainly work out for us very well, but let us know in the chat below or contact us on Facebook or on Discord, one way or another. Let us know what you think about the series and how we can improve perhaps any ideas that you've got. And we can certainly implement that. But yeah, Marco, I mean, your first time broadcasting this series this season, but I mean, it's reminded you of all the reasons why we love it, I imagine.
I mean, multi-class racing at its best. Some of the best drivers in the racing service, and three classes, a lot of beautiful cars. And yes, it is going to be certainly one of the series to follow also next season. Of course, like you were announcing earlier, we will have the TCR here on Apex Racing TV on Thursday nights, and that will be certainly a series that will be super popular. You were telling me about big numbers of sign-ups, and whilst week 13 is behind the corner, we still have plenty of racing to look forward to, and of course with the Sim Racers World just starting and British GT unbelievably about to end. So a lot to look forward to, and I cannot wait for next season.
I mean, we're halfway through the season in the British GT, to be fair. So we've got a little while to go. It's not a long season, 6 weeks. Of course, do certainly check that out on Sunday. And as Marco was saying, of course, the Apex Racing League Touring Car Championship will be getting underway in maybe 2 weeks' time. Certainly do check out our Facebook page for more info on that. Put up a post earlier on with all the details you need to sign up and pay as well for your entry. A lot of payments already, as Michael was saying. So, I mean, certainly do make sure that you sign up quickly. And yeah, of course, any ideas you got for special events and stuff, any championships as well. If you really, if you think that there's a hole in the market that you want to see broadcasted by us, just let us know, and we'll certainly take it into consideration in the future. But it seems as though we're not going to get any interviews with any drivers. So, I mean, certainly from me and from Marco and Sam Kumo in particular, who's been covering the majority of this season. Certainly would like to thank all the drivers for turning up these past 11 weeks, and also thanks for all of you viewers for turning up, because, I mean, if it weren't for you guys, we certainly wouldn't do it. And, well, if you could repay us for broadcasting the series by giving us a like on this video, a subscribe on our YouTube channel, also a like on our Facebook page, follow us on Twitch and Twitter and Instagram as well. We'd super appreciate you doing any of that. But for now, from me and from Marco as well, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.